Hi everyone, this is Marianne and welcome to my channel. Chandler told me recently that he wanted a basic planner and I decided to make for him a traveler's notebook planner insert. He does have a regular sized traveler's notebook in dark brown and I gave that to him in 2014 I think, but he doesn't use it. This can be a chance for him to use that notebook, but even if he decides not to use the notebook, he can still bring around this booklet that I am making for him in this video. That's the beauty of the traveler's notebook. You can take out inserts and use them and bring them around independently. First, I launched my Adobe Indesign and created a document that was 110 millimeters wide and 210 millimeters tall, and then I decided on the margins and then created the guides. Chandler just needs a basic weekly planner and he does not decorate, so I am making for him a very minimalistic planner layout using just one sans serif font suite in 3 different weights. The planner will start on September and end in December 2018. Here I am creating the breaker page for the month. It's just a very simple design. As for the weekly pages, because I did not want to place a main header on every page, I decided to place the full information of each day right there on the box for it. That would be the year, the day, the month, and the day of the week. Take note that the layout has a Monday start, so when the month does not start on a Monday, I simply leave in a large blank box in place of Monday and the other days of the week that month's first week didn't have, like this one right here. In between months, I also placed a couple of blank sheets for notes. I do have a tutorial on my channel about how to make a basic planner page layout using Adobe Indesign, and the techniques I showed there are exactly the same as what I am using here. I will leave a link to that video in the description box for you. I also added in his class schedules into the layout. And I did go back to 1 week in September where Chandler's school had no classes scheduled because of a religious fiesta, and I removed the class schedule on there and replaced them with a line that says, "It's the fiesta." And that is all 36 pages of the planner. I am done creating the entire file that I am now going to print. The paper I am using is this iFX blank cream-colored A4 sized paper that I purchased from the Paper Bar in National Bookstore. This pack has 100 sheets and cost 140 pesos. I have used this paper before when I made a doodle planner, and I will link the video of that down below. Then I took my handy dandy Fiskars paper trimmer, which has measurements in inches, which I do not like because I prefer using the metric system. I also took my good old measuring tape, measured out 220 millimeters, and marked it on the paper trimmer with a CD marker. 220 millimeters is exactly double the width of the traveler's notebook inserts I just laid out, which is 110. We are going to cut the paper to a width of 220 millimeters and then fold it in half to make 110. As for the vertical measurement of the paper, or the height of it, there is no need to cut since 210 millimeters, the height of the traveler's notebook insert, is already the same as the length of one of the sides of the A4. After all of the sheets have been cut, I then scored them on the 110 millimeter mark, which, by coincidence, fell right at the exact same edge of the platform of the paper trimmer, so there was really no need to mark that with the pen. To score the paper, I used this tiny mechanical pencil with a lead retracted. This is the Pilot Birdie mechanical pencil. This also has a ballpoint version right here. I have talked about the ballpoint in a previous video, which I will link down below. So I took a sheet and then made sure that I aligned the 110 mark with the score line and then scored with the retracted mechanical pencil, and then I folded the sheet in half. I did that for all of the sheets. After all of the sheets were scored and folded, I then nestled them into one another like so to form the structure of the booklet. You can see here that I have already printed out the first page of the booklet just to see if it will turn out okay, and it did. Then I used a pencil to very lightly write down the page numbers on the upper outside corner of each page. I wanted to use that retractable mechanical pencil, but I saw that it had run out of lead, so I got another pencil and continued the writing of the page numbers all the way to page 36. Now here is a trick that I use to print on Traveler's Notebook booklets without confusing myself. I have already printed out the first page like I showed, and the trick is to feed the folded sheet into the manual feeder tray right here on the front of the printer instead of placing the sheets inside the internal tray, which is underneath the printer. And because I have already written down the page numbers on the pages themselves, I won't be confused as to what page I am printing on which side of the sheet. Like I printed first page 1 and then flipped the paper over and printed page 36 and then folded the paper back to print page 2 and then page 35. Here is the finished sheet. It might look a little confusing at first, but it will all make sense in the end, I promise. Just stay with me. Took the next sheet, which will have pages 3, 4, 33, and 34. I fed the folded sheet into the printer one side at a time, and here is how the finished sheet looks like. If I put it together with the first sheet that I printed, you can see how the pagination falls into place. Then I took the next sheet, which will have pages 5, 6, 31, and 32, and then printed the pages on that using the same method, and you can see how that finished sheet falls into place as well. And as I go along, slightly sped up, you will be able to see that all of the pages that I am printing gradually falls into place in the proper order in the booklet. The printing seems a little chaotic, I am sure, because it's not continuous printing like what many of us are used to, and the printing of the pages was not in order, and of course it's a little time consuming because we're using the manual feeder tray. But when all of the printing was done, you can see here how everything is in proper order. Now, I am pretty sure that this is not the most efficient method of doing this. You can lay out the pages on InDesign already in the order of printing, meaning you can create pages that are already 220 millimeters wide and then place the page contents in a staggered order on the layout and then print sheets continuously, but I didn't really want to study how to do that from scratch. There's also a booklet printing feature, but I am a little bit afraid to use that. I decided to use this method instead because I have used it before with good results. Years ago, I made a prayer book for my traveler's notebook, and I showed what's inside that prayer book in a video that I will link down below. And then I decided I wanted to add a simple cover page, which also has an if found page with a contact number on it. And I printed that sheet using the same method and placed it as the first sheet in the booklet. The foredge of this booklet isn't completely straight because some of the sheets that are closer to the middle of the booklet are sticking out. This is normal with booklets, but we will fix that later. For the cover, I am going to use this cardstock, which I also purchased from the paper bar. It's a medium gray color that has a nice, subtle texture to it that looks a lot like linen. This is A4 sized already, so I simply scored it right down the middle, which is the 148 millimeter mark on my paper trimmer, and then I folded it on the score line. So far at this point, the process has been easy and fun for me, but I have to admit the binding was a little frustrating. I'm using this long arm stapler that I borrowed from someone. I don't use traveler's notebooks myself, so I had no reason to buy a stapler specifically for it. And this is actually not the best tool for this purpose. John Rush has a video where he showed his saddle stitching tool, and I will leave a link in the description box. That is the perfect tool to bind traveler's notebooks. But as for me, I am stuck with this long arm stapler. I used binder clips to keep everything in place, and then I just eyeballed the center of the crease, and then summoned all of my courage and also said a little prayer, and then pressed down on the stapler. Well, that turned out okay. I did the same thing 2 more times on the upper part of the crease and on the lower part of the crease. And then I placed the entire booklet onto the paper trimmer so I can do 2 things at once. I can cut the cover down to size and also trim the foredge so that everything will be straight and flush with each other. I kept running the rotary blade over the entire length of the booklet in long strokes, making sure that the booklet was kept steadily and securely in place during the process. I am loving this paper trimmer so much. I have been getting a lot of use out of it. I have an unboxing and review of this paper trimmer, and I will leave a link in the description box for you. I thought I was already done at this point, but when I started flipping through the booklet, I noticed that the staplers were not placed on the exact center of the crease, so I was really annoyed. The first half of the booklet wouldn't even lie flat, and the staples would open up a bit when the booklet was forced to lie flat. I knew that I had to redo the stapling, so I removed the staplers and then repeated the stapling process, this time making sure I am as close to the crease as I possibly can. Considering that my placement cannot be completely precise, I just held my breath, tried to be brave, and did my best. And it was better the second time around. The booklet opened up a little better, but of course the pages now have extra tiny tears in the crease because of the previous stapling that I made. I tried to flatten down the tears with the end of the mechanical pencil, but of course the tears would always be there now. I don't think Chandler would mind that. What is more important is that he be able to turn these pages easily and that they lie flat. I hope he gets a lot of use out of this planner. So there, I just wanted to share my process with you, just in case you're thinking of doing something similar. Again, this is not the most efficient and quickest way of doing this, and I also did not have access to the perfect tool for doing the binding, but I have achieved my purpose using the limited tools that I have. I hope this wasn't too confusing, and I hope you forgive the less than perfect binding. If you have any questions, please leave them for me in the comments, and I will get to them as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye!